Okay, I think we're ready to start now. We apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you for joining us, and please note that the webinar has been recorded. Just to give you a preview of the agenda of the webinar today, our first speaker is Jill Waringa from KnowBe4, who will speak about the psychology of social engineering. Then we will run a demo on KnowBe4 platform. And our third speaker is Haris Floridis from Logicom Solutions, who will present Logicom Solutions Cybersecurity Consulting Services. I will skip the introduction for Logicom Solutions, and we will start with Jel with his presentation. I would like just to mention that we'll offer one additional month free on top of the contract to all organizations that attended the webinar today, and that will proceed with the purchase after the webinar in 90 days. You can contact us for more information after the webinar. And we can start now with Jel.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for your patience. Technology aside, it's a pleasure to be here. I'll just share my screen because I have a little slide deck of myself. There we go. Yep. Now, if everything is okay, you can see my my slides. I'm Jelle. I work for KnowBe4. Very simply put, hang on 2 seconds. There we go. This is me. I'll keep this brief because this is the boring part. The important thing is I work as a security awareness advocate for KnowBe4. So my role is very simply to, if COVID wasn't here, travel the globe, travel the world. I'm in airplanes an awful lot and talk to organizations and people about why we need cybersecurity, why we need to pay more attention to the human factor, and basically help organizations to achieve their goals, to up their security posture and reduce the risk. That's basically what I do. I don't have a commercial job. That's the good part. So I can be totally honest to customers, talking about their position. And if they need anything from KnowBe4, I've got colleagues that can help them, and we have partners that can help them. But the essence of what I do really is truly to help people based on the experience I have. And the experience is about 20 years in cybersecurity. I've done a lot of things, worked for startups, worked for scale-ups, enterprise organizations. In my previous job, I was a CTO for a very large telco company. So I've been around. Now, for those of you that don't know KnowBe4, we're a US-based company in Florida, not Silicon Valley. We're Florida-based in Clearwater, and we are the world's largest provider of integrated security awareness training and automated phishing. And I'll dive into that a bit in a minute. But it's important to know that our background, the background of the organization, is in antivirus. So what we were seeing when we were that antivirus company, which was later sold, is that even though people had a antivirus client, and now remind you, this is back in the 2000s, a long time ago, but people did have an antivirus client and it was working well, but they were still getting hacked. The cyber criminals were still getting into their systems. And we were trying to figure out how that happened because, hey, they had a solid protection. They had an endpoint protection on their systems, and still they were getting hacked. So at first we thought, well, the antivirus is broken. Well, it wasn't. The software was doing just fine. It turned out to be social engineering, the act of manipulating people rather than technology. And this is why we founded KnowBe4, to actually boost that human factor in cybersecurity, to get it more into the attention span of organizations and to make sure that organizations understand that we need this. Now, what we do is we help organizations to manage the ongoing problem of social engineering. And there's one key word in this, and that's ongoing, because social engineering will never go away because it affects us humans. And since we are very hard to change, our base behaviors are very integrated in who we are. They won't change very easily. It's very hard to actually ban social engineering. There's no technology solution that can do it, unfortunately. If there was, we would all buy it. But there isn't. No technology can keep you safe from social engineering. Yes, there's technology that can help. Think about, for instance, email filters. Email filters can filter out spam and can filter out certain phishing emails, but it won't take away everything. And the downside is it takes only one click, one victim, one person to actually compromise your entire organization. Now, I know that I'm speaking to a lot of security experts and IT experts, so we're probably familiar with social engineering. But just to make sure that we're all on the same page, the way we classify social engineering is that it's the act or art, depending on how you look at it, of exploiting human characteristics to gain access to personal information or protected systems. Basically, what we see nowadays is that cyber criminals will not attack your automated defenses like your firewall or your web application firewall or your intrusion prevention system. Those work fine. Those work automated. They'll go for a more vulnerable part, basically the human behind that technology layer. That's what social engineering does. And what we do, as known before, is we enable your employees to make smarter security decisions. We basically use them or basically enable them to be a part of your security posture, an active part of your security posture. So yes, you need your technology systems, you still need your firewall, you still need your IPS and all of the other mitigative measures, but we add the human layer to it, basically the eighth layer, as we call it. Now, what we see today is that to be human is to be vulnerable is very, very current. Some people call it human is the weakest link. I don't like that because I don't think we're the weakest link. I actually think we're one of the most powerful links. We just need to make sure we enable people to be a human firewall. Now, if you look at the attack surface today, if you look at all of the successful cyber attacks out there, what we see is that the overly large part of that goes through social engineering. Between 70 to 90% of all successful attacks actually leverage social engineering. They attack that human. If you compare that to the second most successful attack method, which is unpatched systems, which comes about to 20 to 40% of all successful attacks, we see that it is still by far the largest attack threat vector out there. We humans are the number one target for cyber criminals to get into systems or get to data that's protected. Some examples of what they use, and we're pretty much all familiar with it. Think about phishing. If you don't know what a phishing email is, just open your email inbox. Every single person, everyone is targeted by phishing. It's there and it's easy to do for cyber criminals. But there's also more complicated schemes like business email compromise, where they try to extort money. But we also have things like smishing. The S is for SMS, and that's not a widely used protocol anymore. It now turned into WhatsApp fraud, for instance, or LinkedIn fraud, social media fraud. Facebook is a well-known, Facebook Messenger is a well-known fraud method for cyber criminals. So that is one factor. The other factor, what we see, and that's one that came over from the US, is voice phishing, phishing with a V. So voice phishing basically is that you get a phone call with somebody. Good examples of that are the Microsoft support scam or the Amazon support scam, where you get a call from somebody telling you your computer is basically threatened or your computer is infected, and they'll help you for a small fee, or they'll help you even for free. Well, it's never for free. They're always trying to scam you in some way. And the last component that we need to focus on is that social engineering doesn't necessarily have to be a digital thing. It can also be a physical thing. Somebody trying to manipulate somebody to get into a protected building, to get into a protected or closed room. The physical aspect is very much a threat vector, and especially if it's combined with the digital aspects. So somebody trying to get into a room who built a whole background with about himself, digital background on LinkedIn, where somebody can actually look up if that person exists. Well, that sort of validity happens today. Social engineering is actually pretty simple to understand. That's the good part of it. It's hard to combat, but simple to understand. And the one thing you need to understand is it relies on manipulating your emotions. And everybody's got those emotions. And some people are better to control them than others. But what we do see is that there are certain emotions that almost every social engineering attack uses. One example of that is the urgency one. The urgency is basically they want to take away your time to decide. They want to force you into a decision. And that's what they do. They force you into a certain decision because that decision is basically the action that the cyber criminal wants you to take. That's what social engineering does. And in today's digital world, what we see happening is that with all of the new attack surfaces that arise, think about it, IoT. IoT is not something only for the business, it's also in your home. Think about Alexa or Google Nest, or Google Home as it used to be called, or many other things. People have light bulbs they can switch on and off through their network, or people have a smart fridge nowadays. Well, that's an attack surface cyber criminals like to use, and especially if you look at something like ransomware. If you have a refrigerator where you keep your medicines, which is a smart refrigerator, and that gets ransomed, so you can't open it without paying Bitcoin or anything, something else, that's a problem because you need those medicines. That's an attack surface that the consumer will start to see happening in the next couple of years. But also think back to IoT in the business. Many OT environments, so operational technology environments, factories, manufacturing plants, now leverage a form of IoT, which makes them vulnerable because IoT usually isn't, when it's designed, it isn't designed for security. It's designed for usable features, business applications. Security is usually an afterthought when it comes to that. And it's very hard to protect IoT systems because, well, a sensor that you implement in your network might be $2. So how are you going to protect a sensor that's $2 with a system that might be a couple of $1,000s? It doesn't balance out really well. So we see IoT as a really big threat if you don't do it correctly. The same goes for something like this. To the left, you see pictures of people that don't exist. None of these people actually exist. They were created by an AI. These are deepfake images, in this case created by NVIDIA, a video card company and chip company. And they're based on characteristics of real people and put together into new images. And the same goes for the video of Barack Obama you see to the right. Now, this is a GIF. If you want to see the whole video, I've put the source beneath it, and I'm sure we'll share the presentation afterwards, so you can look it up yourself. But that was created by a company called Lyrebird, using a current video of Obama, but with speech of an old presentation he did. And they made a new message where their marketing message is being spoken by Obama without him actually doing it. It's the text of the actual video was never spoken by Obama. It's all computer generated. You can actually use Lyrebird to record your own messages. It's pretty cool. And even though it's pretty cool, it's something that cyber criminals are starting to use. We now see that the FBI has actually created a new vector for attacks called, instead of called BEC, they call it BIC, business identity compromise. Because no longer are cyber criminals targeting your computer systems, they're actually building profiles on people they can use through things like deepfakes to trick you into wiring money. Because, well, think about it. If you get a phone call from your boss telling you to wire money in his voice with real-time responses to questions you ask, that's something you can do with deep voice systems. That's what we see happening in the future. And can we solve this with technology? Well, no, unfortunately we can't, because it's very simple. The cyber criminals have lots of time to prepare their attack. They can take months to build a good attack. And once they file that attack, we only have minutes to respond. And defense technology simply can't be created in minutes. It takes time. It takes months to years to build something. If you look at ransomware, when the first ransomware attack actually happened, it took over a year to build a simple defense mechanism. And it wasn't even advanced yet. It didn't stop everything. It was a simple defense mechanism. And then the only thing a cyber criminal has to do is tweak his attack a bit, and our defenses are useless. So technology doesn't work against social engineering. It's too complex. It's too fast evolving. So we need to do things differently. Now, I've already talked about social engineering being used to manipulate your emotions. But how does that work? How does our brain actually work? Because our brain, in some ways, works against us. If you look at how our brain works with social engineering, I turn to Dr. Daniel Kahneman. He wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. And if you haven't read it, it's an excellent piece of writing where he describes basically how our brain works, how people can manipulate it, what processes there are. And if you read the book, you really do get a better understanding of social engineering, the basics of it. You might not know about every attack, but you do understand the foundation of all those attacks. And to put it in 2 slides, well, basically he tells us there's 2 system thinking, 2 ways for your brain to operate. On the one hand, we have system 1 thinking, which is fast thinking. And fast thinking systems, basically, you use it when driving a car. It's pretty autonomous. It works on its own. It doesn't take a lot of energy. It's easy to operate. And it's continuously scanning your surrounding. Now, that's all good, but there's also a downside. And the downside is that you make a lot of mistakes and errors when using system 1 thinking. Think about driving that car. Everybody makes mistakes while driving that car. If you have a phone call during that drive, you usually don't even remember what was happening in the driving part because you're focusing on that phone call, but you're still automatically driving that car. There's also system 2 thinking. And system 2 thinking is basically the opposite of system 1 thinking. It's very slow. It takes time and effort and energy to come up with an answer. We use it when doing mathematics, for instance, hard equations, difficult equations. You can do them, but it takes time, it takes effort. Another example is that we use system 2 thinking to control our emotions. Just think back to a time when you were really angry, really, really angry. I bet it was very hard to control that anger, to control that emotion. That's because system 2 thinking allows you to control that emotion, but it takes time. It's slow. It takes minutes to hours to actually control that emotion. So what do cyber criminals want to achieve? Well, they basically want to cancel system 2 thinking. They don't want you to think, they want you to act. They want you to do what they want them to do. They want you to take that action, click on that link, send them the information, or give them access to systems, or install a piece of software that contains malware. They don't want you to think, they don't just want you to click. That's why most anti-phishing campaigns that you see globally talk about think before you click. They mean use system 2 thinking before you actually act. Now, that comes back to numbers. If we've done studies on why do people actually click on phishing emails? Well, it turns out there's 2 main reasons. The first one is they were actually busy and multitasking, doing a lot of different things. And when you do a lot of different things, your thought process is spread across many tasks, which is difficult. So when you get a phishing email, you read it, looks okay, you just click the link, and that's when things go bad because it only takes 1 click. The second reason what we see is if they actually fell for the link, what should they have done? Well, most people didn't do the most effective way to detect a phishing email, which is to hover over the actual link, to look if the link that's on your screen is the same as the link they're sending you to. Because most of the time, they confiscate that phishing email, that phishing link. So knowing all this, knowing what social engineering is, knowing how it triggers your emotions, how can you actually prevent it? Pardon me. Well, there's 5 highly effective steps you can take. 5 simple things that generally don't cost you much money, but are really good at preventing social engineering. The first one is trust but verify. Yes, we get emails every day and we get tons of emails and communications from everyone. So we need a certain degree of trust in order to actually be able to do our job. But that doesn't mean that you have to trust everybody implicitly. You actually need to make sure that you verify it as well. So before clicking a link, hover over it, look at what that link does. Before you send somebody that information, think about, is it normal that that person expects that information of you? Is it normal that that person contacts you at that time of day? Is he in a different time zone and is it night at his side? So is it normal for him to send you an email during the night? Things like that you need to pay attention to. The second one is awareness is still key. Be aware of all the dangers out there. That's what security awareness training, what we do, actually is for. It's to make sure that you understand attacks. It's to make sure that you understand how they manipulate your emotions, what tricks they use, so you're able to detect all of the different attacks and respond in a secure manner. Now, I feel that awareness is usually highly underestimated. The power of awareness is really big. You actually are able to make sure that people detect those threats for your organization and report them back to you as IT or a security team so you can investigate further. But the one thing you don't want to do is put people in a classroom and bore them to death for 2 hours. That doesn't work. So my suggestion is keep it small. Pick a number of different topics that you want to train them in and provide them with small little trainings. Some might be an hour, that's fine, but don't do it every day, do it once a month. Rather, if you do one long training, augment that with short trainings, 5 to 2 minute trainings, doesn't really matter, but they need to be short, they need to be fun, they need to be effective. You need to motivate people to want to look at them. Fun is a really important thing when training people. And if you can't do this yourself, you can always turn to our partner Logicom. They can actually help you to build that security program from a managed service perspective. They have those services, they have the expertise to do that for you and to help you as an organization. Also, you want to understand that in today's economy, you, or rather your data, is the actual product. You don't pay for Facebook, you don't pay for LinkedIn. Those are free services. Well, nothing is free in today's world. You're not paying with money, but you're paying with your data. You're paying with your essence, who you are, what you've done yesterday, what you're going to do, who you are, what your career looks like. And normally that's not a bad thing, but cyber criminals understand this too. So they use Facebook, they use LinkedIn and all of those free platforms as open source intelligence to figure out more about you so they can better build sophisticated phishing attacks, targeted spear phishing attacks to make sure that you actually fall for it. Because the more information you provide to the cyber criminals, the more effective they can be in social engineering you. Now, most people don't understand this. So one of the things I do when I speak to employees at organizations is to make sure this actually hits home, because they don't only do it at the workplace, they also do it at home. And people usually don't think about what they post. And it's a treasure trove of information for cyber criminals. Now, the fourth tip is based on passwords. They're keys to our kingdom, and the average user uses more than 200 different passwords. That's a lot to manage. So what people do is, let's create short, easy passwords, easy to remember to them. That doesn't work, because if you look at the table to the right, it's pretty easy to hack short passwords. A good password is between 12 and 16 characters. Complex passwords, both characters and special characters, normal characters and special characters, all involved. Long passwords you can't remember. So we usually advise use a passphrase, a line, something you can remember, a line from a song or anything like that. It might be a long passphrase, but you're able to remember it. And think about it. 67% of employees are likely to reuse a password they have at home at work as well. That's not really safe, because you should choose a different password for each website, for each service. So offer people to use password managers. And we all know this as security people. But if you look at the adoption rate of password managers, it's really, really low. On average, 12% of everybody that uses a computer only uses a password manager. That's really low. And it's a really helpful and often free tool to use, both in business and at home. And the last one is a dead giveaway too, multi-factor authentication, something we all should do. But if you look at how much it's being used, it's not being used a lot. Yes, organizations use tools like OneLogin to protect their organization. But what happens, people also access their corporate networks from home, which isn't bad. And usually they use a VPN and they use multi-factor. But what happens is people also copy data that should be protected onto their local machines, which increases the risk immensely. So what we usually tell people, make sure that not only you provide multi-factor at the office, but also make sure you provide multi-factor for the home, because people tend to carry over data to the home, data which is your company's data and which you don't want leaked. Now, there's one thing that we usually do is give a gimmick, a giveaway to the people that can actually help. In this case, we've opted for the infographic for the 22 social engineering red flags. And a red flag is nothing more than a telltale sign of how you can spot or detect a phishing email. Now, what we use this poster for is we print it out, put it up on the wall, or show it on wall screens in offices, or just send it to people so they can print it out and use it as a cheat sheet on the desk. It's little things like this that can trigger people to have better behavior. And this is free of charge. You can just use it. Just if you want it, reach out to Logicom or reach out to myself via LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to send it to you so you can use it. The good thing about this is that you nudge people towards secure behavior. It's a very intrinsic simple trick to get people to understand phishing emails. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to get them to a classroom. Just send them this, have them use it, and we're one step closer. We have many of these on our website, but if you want this specific one, reach out to us and we'll get it to you. Now, that was it for my talk, my presentation part. Normally, my colleague Patricia would take over and do the demo, but unfortunately, she didn't make it due to the technical concerns. So I'm going to present you the demo as well. So you have a little inkling of what the platform itself can do and the ease of use of the actual tools. So if you give me 2 seconds, I need to make it that I can stop sharing. There we go. And I'll switch my screens and share something again. Here we go. Now you can actually see the dashboard. And we have a SaaS solution, an online solution hosted in AWS, where you can actually access the dashboard. Now, what you see here is the admin dashboard, the dashboard that your organization's administrator will use. Users have their own dashboard, where they can see their own performance and where they can access their libraries of training material. But this one it's a demo dashboard. So all the data you see is anonymized and in demo mode. But the dashboard actually gives you an overview of how your total organization is doing, what the risk of that organization is doing. And we have the virtual risk officer for that. And the virtual risk officer, I'll just change over my, hang on. There we go. We have the virtual risk officer that actually gives you an overview of how your organization is performing. In this case, what we see is that we're in the green. Well, it's a demo account, so hey, we always do good in demos, right? Now you see a risk score, which is basically the trend line over time. And you see that when this client, in this case, started with security awareness training, they were at a risk score of 45. That's actually not that good. It's in the yellow part. And it was increased in the beginning. Could be they had some campaigns going, or they were under attack. But by using security awareness training, they were able to lower it. Now, to be fair, you'll never lower the risk to zero. Zero risk doesn't happen because there's nothing like 100% security. It doesn't exist. But if you decrease it to 10, you're doing okay. If you keep it in the green, maybe the yellow, depends on what your organization wants. We show all of the different phishing security tests, basically all of the phishing examples and the phishing tests that we send users to test their skills. And here you can see how they perform. You can see how many actually clicked on a link that we send them, how many entered data on a sheet that we send them, a form that we send them, how many replied to the email. So there's a lot of different things here. The most important line here is the phish-prone percentage, and the phish-prone percentage is basically the percentage of people in your organization that have clicked on a phishing link. And you want to see that line go down. Down is good. You can compare yourself, your organization, to different industries. Let's say you're in healthcare, you've got 250 to 1,000 users, and you've been doing the whole program, the security awareness program, for 19 days. How would you compare against the industry average? Well, in this case, you're doing really good because you've got 0% of people who are clicking on bad links, while the industry average after 90 days would be 17.8%. And we measure this average across all of our users. We have something called the Phish Alert button, which basically is an easy way for users from their email client to report a phishing email. It's something where they see a phishing email, and instead of forwarding that phishing email, they just press the PAB, the Phish Alert button, and it's sent to a specific email box to your forensics team. It's reported and it's deleted from the inbox from the user. That way he can't fall for the trap. He can't actually click the link because it's deleted. Your team can then forensically investigate. They can send it back if it's a good email, or they can tell the user, thank you for sending this email. It was a phishing link, and we can now use this to see if the rest of the organization has seen it. So this keeps track of that Phish Alert button, how many are installed, how many actually report and use it, things like that. Then I'll skip the SAPA for now, but we also have training campaigns. These training campaigns basically are your simulated phishing attacks that you can send to the user in order to test their skills. Now, what we want to do is we want to train people. Training campaigns can fairly easily be built. You can set training campaigns to specific groups, just your management, just your PR department, or for instance, people that have failed their training. If they failed phishing, if they failed their simulated phishing attacks, they get some extra training. Things like that you can set. This mod store is built up over thousands of different pieces of training material in many languages. I can just show you the languages. We have tons. Now, for this webinar, I'll just pick, hang on, there we go, Greek. And you'll see that we have, I think 62 different pieces specifically designed for the Greek community, Greek-speaking people. These range from our basic trainings, which were presented by Kevin Mitnick. If you don't know Kevin, do look him up. All the way up to specific GDPR trainings or even fun little shows like Restricted Intelligence that are good to watch, fun to watch, and train you on security, which is underlying to the actual show. The storyline of the show, the actors, that's what happens. That's what's the fun part. And by watching that show, you'll see some security elements return. So we've got all of these things. And you can pick and choose, because if you have Greek people, that's fine, that's speak Greek. But maybe you've got English expats as well, and you can present them the same training in a different language. It's all up to you to choose. You can choose durations, you can choose if you want really targeted trainings, like trainings that are targeted to your industry or your region. There's lots of different methods to get people trained. We also have, if you do the training, you get the results back. Now, in this case, we've got a couple of trainings here. You can see how many people actually completed the training. You can see what the content was that you serve. In this case, for instance, in this one, we're serving our award-winning show, The Insight Man. And you can see, if you click on it, you can actually see how many people viewed what season. You can make it mandatory or free to do. That's all up to you. The only thing we recommend is make sure you do offer people some training every 1 month. 5 to 10 minutes a month is better than doing it once a year for 2 hours. Micro training really works better because it triggers, it keeps them motivated, and gives them small snippets of information that they can actually remember. So this is the platform in a sense. Now you can do this yourself, or you can use Logicom to actually do this for you. There's both options. The advantage of having an expert do this for you, a partner of ours, in this case Logicom, is that not only do they know how to operate the product, and operating the product itself, that's not the difficult part, but they can build that user awareness campaign for you. They can actually put in their expertise on how to communicate with your employees or with your management. They know what reports work well, how to report success. So maybe if you don't want to do it all by yourself, do talk to your account manager. They can actually help you in this one. That was it from my side. So if it's open, if it's okay, I'll turn over.
Thank you, Jel.
There we go. Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you. We'll proceed now with Haris Floridis for the closing remarks. Harry, you're muted.
Yes, thank you, Daphne. Just a moment to share my screen. So Daphne, just to confirm, you can see my screen because I can't see the.
No, cannot.
No, I have to press the share button and hijack Jel's session. So I think now it should be okay.
No, it's okay. Yes.
Yes, so great. Thank you. So in my turn, I would like to thank everyone for attending this virtual event today. We are really looking forward for the post-COVID era to safely meet everyone and discuss in person on how we can help you meet your objectives and address your cybersecurity challenges, and also overcome any technical issues as the one we had today. Now, I would also like to thank KnowBe4, a trusted partner of Logicom Solutions. I'm very confident that today's event evidenced why the platform of KnowBe4 is recognized as the world's leading security awareness solution. We are very proud for this partnership and for the projects we delivered with KnowBe4 to customers operating in different sectors around Cyprus, Greece, and Malta. Now, from Logicom Solutions side, I have a very short presentation, just a few slides to discuss on how our cybersecurity consulting services can help you to gain the maximum out of this platform. So I'm starting my presentation with this number, 18%. This is the average percentage of users that fall victims in assessments that our team conducted through the penetration testing engagements we delivered over the last years in customers from different sectors in the countries I mentioned before that we are operating. And this includes engagements delivered to major banking institutions, in general, the financial sector, shipping industry, technology sector, retail, and others. Moreover, it is noted that we never received rate less than 10% when executing a specially crafted and targeted phishing campaign. A reminder that for our team, what is needed in most cases is just a single valid username and password to start building the attack vectors and extend our unauthorized access to other sensitive assets of an organization. This, as also Joel described before, is evidencing that technology alone cannot minimize the risk of an organization from cyber attacks. Human factors, they are, and the human factor is, and they will continue to be the main target of cyber attacks. To improve this and avoid having our users falling victims to cyber attacks, we need to support them and cultivate a security mindset. As presented in some other events, this slide describes the cybersecurity services being offered through our Managed Security Solutions Center. As we can see here, the phishing campaigns and the security trainings is one of the key services that is being provided through the KnowBe4 platform under our Managed Security Services. A few words about the rest of the services. We are delivering the penetration test, the vulnerability assessments as through the Managed Security Solutions Center, the 24/7 monitoring Managed SOC Center, the infrastructure monitoring service, which is a service that was launched recently this year, and the secure code review, which we have discussed also in some other events. So we're focusing now on the KnowBe4 platform. And in the next slide, I will explain what we're actually offering. So through this service, the security awareness service, we can help you fully utilize the KnowBe4 platform. We are undertaking the initial configuration, and we are delivering this as a service to your organization for a minimum period of 1 year. We will work with you and prepare the different scenarios, the training campaigns, and all this will be based on the profile of your organization to ensure that we are simulating what a real adversary outside will do when your organization will be targeted. We'll also be monitoring the performance of the users, and we will adjust the plan accordingly to meet and address the challenges that will be surfaced. We'll have scheduled meetings to present the results, the progress, the trend analysis that has been presented before through the platform, and the key risks of your organization under this area, including non-technical presentations that can be delivered to your top management to keep them involved in this process. Finally, and which is also a vital part of our engagement, is the delivery in person or through the use of other collaboration tools of targeted awareness sessions for high-risk employees who are not able to demonstrate improvement of their security awareness. These sessions are outlining how a user can protect himself or herself against the related threats and explain in person the simple techniques and the list that has been also presented before of the actions that need to be performed to protect ourselves and avoid being exposed from similar attacks. Now, at the end of our engagement, which as I explained before is for 1 year, the objective is to take the percentage of users who can be tricked and become victims of such targeted attacks to a rate lower than 5%, which is usually something around 3%. And this is an objective that we may also achieve even in the first half of our engagement. As promised, I kept this presentation short to the key messages that we wanted to focus. So to give some time to move to the QA sessions that follows, during which we'll be more than happy to discuss and respond to questions you may have, even for KnowBe4 platform or for our services. You can also contact us directly or through your account manager to provide you with any other additional information you may need. Once again, thanks a lot for attending this event today. So Daphne, we can
Thank you,
proceed to the
Haris.
Q&A session.
Yes, you can ask your questions in the Q&A. As I mentioned, we will offer one additional month free on top of the contract to all organizations that attended the webinar today, and that will proceed with the purchase after the webinar in 90 days. You can contact us for more information. So we'll be waiting a couple of minutes for your questions. Regarding the social engineering red flag, I will share the PDF with you after the webinar.
Okay, Daphne, we have one question regarding the managed service, so I will take this one. Of how it's being charged. So the platform of KnowBe4 is being charged on the number of users. So the same, it's the metric we also use to estimate the cost and the effort that our team will need to put to deliver this managed service. So it's based on the number of users. And feel free to contact us to provide some more information or a quote on our service, which is being provided for 1 to 3 years. We have some customers that asked for a 3 years period to deliver this service. It's an affordable service that can help the security teams to focus on what they are doing and give allow to our team to contact and deliver this service and ensure that it's being 100% utilized.
We have another
okay,
yes.
Yes, it's for the managed services. Yes, as the question is if we are offering training awareness workshops to address the results of the phishing campaign. As I have explained in the presentation, there is a percentage of users that we expect they will not improve significantly the way they respond to phishing attacks. So while we progress, we'll be able to identify this small number of users and we'll deliver workshops with them. If we can, we may also have some physical meetings with them or through collaboration tools and explain them, try to walk them through and explain them what they need to do to be aware and avoid clicking on malicious or suspicious links. And this is a very powerful way to make sure that these users are increasing their awareness. We do believe that the KnowBe4 platform and the content it has will help everyone. That's why we have explained that we expect to see this number of 18% or even more to be reduced at the 6 months or at least by the end of our engagement to a number lower than 5% and sometimes 3%. But we are also taking care of this 3% to try to minimize it to the maximum possible extent.
Okay, shall I take the next question?
Yes, I was going to ask this to you, Jet. Thank you.
Okay, so the question is, the data is stored in the US or can it be limited to the European Union data covenant? Yes, it can. We have both a US platform version and an EU platform version. Both are separated. Data doesn't mingle. So if you are concerned about data not leaving the EU, we can provide that. It's within the EU data domain with all of the different compliance and contracts accordingly. So EU is not a problem at all. Any other questions?
And on this, maybe we can also add that we are not storing information that is being submitted, like passwords, for example.
Yeah, so basically we take tune to GDPR and we follow GDPR. Simply, we wouldn't exist if we didn't. It's as simple as that. Yeah, no issues with GDPR, luckily. Everything is good.
Thanks a lot.
And there is another question, Haris, about Angel. Is the subscription to the platform based on an annual fee? And how about the Logicom Solution Managed Service?
Okay, I can take
it. Yep.
Yes, it's based on an annual fee. As I explained before, for both options, there is for both parts of this solution, of this service, can be purchased on either for 1 or 3 years, for a period of 3 years, which has a discount if the customer decides to proceed with a 3 years commitment. I don't know if there is something else you want to add, Jel. Maybe the packages that you have for the KnowBe4 platform.
I don't have a commercial role, so I don't know all of this commercial stuff. I talk about security, not commerce. What I do know, yes, we have different packages where you get different training content, and it's all specifically what you want as an organization. So my advice would very simply be contact Logicom. Talk to what you need, let them decide what you need, and then figure out what works best. I think that's usually the best way to do it.
It's a good reason to contact us after this presentation.
I can actually answer the next one. That's a technical one. I can do that. So the question is, can we add internal custom trainings to the training platform, things like PowerPoint presentations? Not PowerPoint presentations itself. We do allow PDFs and videos to be added to the training platform. We use SCORM as the de facto standard. So anything that's in SCORM format can be added to the platform. What I would do, if you want a PowerPoint training, convert it to PDF and put it on the platform, because sharing a PowerPoint itself wouldn't be smart anyway, because people would be able to change the content. That's not the intention. So convert it to a PDF, make sure you adhere to SCORM, which is fairly easy, and then add it to the platform. Not a problem at all.
And also, if you have any acceptable use policies or policies that you want to distribute across your organization and trace who read it and accepted it, this is also being supported by KnowBe4 platform. It's a very powerful tool so that you can have a single tool to distribute your policies and track who.
Yeah, and actually, you can actually use your own learning management LMS system if you want to add our content to that, because again, we use SCORM. So any LMS system that allows for SCORM, you can use.
So I think, again, apologies from our side for the technical issue we had. We put all our effort to resolve it as soon as possible, and eventually we have managed with these 30 minutes to have it resolved. Thanks
Thank you very
everyone
much
for attending.
Thank you, Jel, very much for your presentation.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And if there are any further questions, reach out to us. We're here for you.
Yes. And I will send you the recording. And if you have any other questions, or if you're interested about our offer, you can contact us at solutions@logicom.net, or you can contact your account manager directly. And we hope you enjoyed the presentations and the coffee and snacks that you received. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Jel.